Hello, fellas! I've been playing a shit ton of Fear and Hunger recently, but one thing that I've been finding that kind of irks me is that a lot of the negative reviews in this game is how it's luck based and not about skill. This is flat out just not true. It's of course it is going to feel like that on this first playthrough. That is the design philosophy of Fear and Hunger, because you don't know what you're doing. But that's what makes this game so interesting. It really isn't intended to be beaten on your first playthrough. Hell, I don't think you're supposed to last 30 seconds on your first playthrough, especially if you're playing Terror and Starvation. It really isn't until your second or third playthrough that you kind of understand a little bit where combat isn't good, stuff like that. And in these early stages, when you die, you're not going to feel like you're making progress. You're just not. But you really are. That is the progress of this game. Knowledge. You'll know how to fight the ghoul, or you'll know how to fight a guard with only risking a coin flip, or you'll know how to fight things. And this is more important than you'd think. I mean, hell, you can see me doing it here. I'm just gonna talk to this guy and kill him. And these whole things, it really does show that if you're in a situation where luck is involved, you've made a mistake. Because, in my personal opinion, I don't think this game is ever luck based. I think it is. There is luck in it, sure, but that luck is always going to be a last ditch, you've already fucked up, time to pay the consequences with a chance of losing. And there's only really two types of luck in this game. There's one that I've just been talking about where it's easily avoidable. Well, not easily, but can be avoided if you know what you're doing. And number two, which is kind of, it's not easily avoidable, but it is very easy to recover from. A good example of both of these is either any pretty for situation one, which is what I'm going to call the most attacks, coin flip attacks, easily recoverable. No, not easily recoverable, easily avoidable. While situation two, like falling into prisons, both of these situations can either be avoided or easily recovered from. But when you first start, it kind of just feels like you're wandering around, and you can't. And it really leaves you with that kind of expected in an RPG, not disappointed, but surprised. Now, I can't be dumb and say that it's a flaw of the game that people that expected an RPG come in surprised. But if I'm being completely honest, I really love it. I think it truly encapsulates what the characters are feeling and thinking about. I don't think any of our protagonists really understand the horrors that lie inside these dungeons. And at the start of the game, you you don't either. You kind of feel very helpless. But after you start getting an idea of the dungeon and the grasp of the lower floors, you start to feel like this seasoned adventurer, and you get a much better understanding. Of course, this isn't an easy accomplishment to understand these dungeons, but those enemies of Fort Mahabra are no joke. But what I truly believe, and I truly believe this, is that the first few layers of the dungeon are just tutorials. Teach you different mechanics like picking up green herbs, or talking to the ghoul, or talking to NPCs and having NPCs give you rewards like Torture and Buckman. Now, making the player get comfortable in an area and then put them into a much harder one is something that this game likes to do a lot. I do like the unpredictability and just the way it makes the dungeons feel more hostile. Honestly and truly, this game never forces impossible situations on you. But what it will do is put you in situations where you have to change your strategies on the fly. Some enemies can attack you in the overworld, and some enemies can leave debilitating status effects on you. But learning to adapt to all of these changes will get easier and easier until it's second nature. And trust me, every enemy can be overcome by thinking outside of the box. Let's take Nishra for an example. When you first encounter him, he seemed like impossible to defeat, because he is. But if you talk to some of his students, the Yellow Mage, and get the Cube of the Depths, you can just recruit him. Instead of brute forcing your way through Nishra, you have to experiment with the talk options, and get items, and explore the dungeons before you can unlock him. This idea of getting in over your head, adapting, and coming up with new strategies, and then coming back to overcome an obstacle, is the core gameplay loop that many players learn to absolutely love and adore. But that's just the thing. When you first start out, you don't actually complete this loop of hitting obstacles, coming up with solutions, and then using those solutions to defeat the enemy. When you first start, that loop won't be completed. You may encounter an enemy or set obstacle. You can come up with a solution that may or may not work, and if it doesn't work, then you probably are going to die, and you're going to feel like you've lost progress. But you haven't lost progress. This new player has gained progress. But since there's nothing tangible, it feels like you're not making anything, you're just ramming your head against a brick wall. Even though in all reality, you're getting knowledge, you're getting new ideas, stuff like that. And I truly believe that this is where the people that write the negative reviews, talking about how the game is luck-based, kind of just stop playing the game. And that they never truly grasp the engaging gameplay loop of Fear and Hunger. Of course, this loop is semi-broken when you get to Mahabra, and I honestly really like that about the area. Because there aren't going to be like one-step solutions or one-size-fits-all strategies to be able to handle most enemies. Instead, you're going to have to use the talk option to still give you kind of an advantage, such as maybe stunning the Lord of the Flies, or perma-stunning Francois. You know, Francois does fit into the original loop, but don't worry, he's just dumb. But I do like how Mahabra forces the player to adapt and get better items, which most of the early enemies you can handle with just the starting items. Also, I would like to point out that all of the very, very, very good items, such as Purified Eastern Sword, a Miasma, in Blue Sin, or whatever it's called, I've never gotten it, are all guaranteed drops, so you can get them no matter what you do. Now, this game is definitely not for the faint of heart or easy, but to call it luck-based is just not true. I think with all I've said and how I talked about the gameplay loop and all that stuff, you can come to understand that just because how the game presents itself does not what it truly is, you know? And I think that saying it's luck-based shows you do not understand the depth of Fear and Hunger. I would know. I used to think it was before I really got deep into the game. Anyways, adios, fellas.